Our news is brought to you by ROLLOUT.
Coming up tonight, 110 Bahamians receive a COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, Disney says it's content over its environmental impact assessment. And the Grand Bahama Children's Home gets some much-needed help. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, 110 Bahamians are now vaccinated against COVID-19 just days after 20,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine arrived in the country. Among those being vaccinated were Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, his wife Patricia Minnis, and other health officials. Berthany McDermott tells us more.
If you look this way, it's okay.
In a few short minutes, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and his wife Patricia Minnis were among the first 100 Bahamians to receive the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine today. Proud healthcare workers showed off their new stickers proclaiming, "I got the COVID-19 vaccine." Addressing the media after his 15-minute observation period, the Prime Minister said he hopes to see a return to some normalcy by summer.
What I am looking forward to is for us receiving the remainder of the vaccines so that our entire population can be rolled out as quickly as possible. I would like to see our entire populace back to normal May, June, so that we can commence whatever things we've done in the past.
Dr. Minnis also advising Bahamians to avoid fake news about the COVID-19 vaccine, rather to take action and get inoculated as soon as possible. He says it seems more and more Bahamians are open to getting the jab.
What is amazing, as soon as individuals had heard that I and others were being vaccinated, I was amused by the amount of phone calls that I received at home. Individuals who were calling, and everywhere I stopped. I went to the supermarket this morning shopping, and people were stopping me asking when can they get the vaccine. They want the vaccine. So I think we're turning the corner now.
Health Minister Runwood Wells, who also received his first shot today, was pleased with the turnout.
It is a very favorable, positive, exceptional response to Bahamians getting vaccinated. So despite all the noise in the marketplace from those who are anti-vacciners, we can see that a lot of the Bahamian people are wanting to step forward, willing to step forward to be able to take the vaccine.
Well, a few short hours before then, a nurse and a doctor were the first in the country to receive their first shot.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so here we go. So I am injection. That should stick. Okay. That's your injection.
I'm fine, and she's a very good sticker. So if you all want to book her, you feel free to do so. I didn't have any, I hardly knew that I was stuck.
I am so excited because I'm looking at the whole country returning some sense of normalcy. And personally, I would like to be able to see my kids and grandkids and to travel to go and see them. I also want to have that assurance that when I travel or wherever I go, even if I get COVID, I'm not going to get sick. I'm going to need hospitalization.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Among the first vaccinated today was head of the COVID-19 National Consultative Committee, Dr. Mercelyn Dalregis. She spoke with reporters about the rollout and concerns about the vaccine. Christina Dragovich has that.
Healthcare workers excited to get their first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Now more than 100 people were vaccinated here today at Loyola Hall. Dr. Dalregis trying to address concerns about vaccine hesitancy, saying that the vaccine is safe.
You have a lot of misinformation circulating. Example, the association with AstraZeneca and the thromboembolism. In 2 patients, 26 million took it, 2 patients, and now they've established that it's unrelated to the vaccine.
Dr. Dahl-Regis says vaccine hesitancy is a real concern, both locally and globally, and that can be related to misinformation being spread on social media.
When it comes to mistrust of vaccines, this vaccine is new. Unlike all the other vaccines that we have used, we don't have a long history. We don't know what 10 years, 15 years, 25 years compared to some of the other experiences we've had.
In the 1990s, Dahl-Regis says the Bahamas had a very successful vaccine program against measles, mumps, and rubella. She says there was no hesitancy then, and as a result, there's not been a congenital rubella case in the country since 2000. Now, as the Bahamas rolls out its vaccine program against COVID-19, Dahl-Regis says Bahamians should know that the Bahamas is doing what it can to obtain more vaccines.
There's a global shortage right now of vaccines for COVID-19. There will be an abundance later on, but right now there's a global shortage. So we are really thrilled to have the vaccine, and those who don't want it need not take it.
All healthcare workers who received the jab today were volunteers. According to the World Health Organization, the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine is 8 to 12 weeks after the first dose, and longer dose intervals within the 8 to 12 week period are associated with greater vaccine efficacy.
There are many more people who want it than the supply that we have. So those who want it will get it.
More vaccines are due in country by the end of the month through the Pan American Health Organization's COVAX facility. Dr. Dahl-Regis says if those vaccines don't arrive on schedule, then the rollout of the program will have to be adjusted to ensure that everyone can get a second dose. Reporting for our News Weekend, I'm Christina Dragovich.
A little later, we'll tell you why some say the COVID-19 vaccine is a beacon of hope for a return to normalcy. Consultant Physician Staff Association President Dr. Sabrika Pinder-Butler says some healthcare providers have decided to wait for another vaccine option. It comes just days after those 20,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine arrived as a donation by the government of India. However, since then, some European countries have suspended use of that vaccine amid concerns over blood clots. While not speaking to investigations surrounding that, Dr. Pinder-Butler says other vaccine options like the one from Johnson & Johnson may be beneficial to some.
I would say, and I think most of us agree, that if you have more options available to you, it's always good to be able to have an alternative. So ideally, if it is that we can have other options, that would be something that would be welcome. Certainly, I think the Johnson & Johnson, perhaps as a single dose or single shot vaccine, might be something that our Bahamians might be more welcoming to one vaccine as opposed to two vaccines.
A pilot rollout for the AstraZeneca vaccine, of course, took place earlier today. 33,000 doses of the vaccine paid for by the Bahamas government through the COVAX facility are expected by the end of the month. The CPSA president says it wouldn't hurt to look at other options, particularly given logistical challenges in the country.
And then I think when we look at storage and those types of things, it being able to be kept in a refrigerator, and we know that we have challenges with electricity in the Bahamas sometimes, and with storage, that might be an option that may be more practical for us in country. But having said that, I know that we have experts that have been looking into that, and so I also trust their judgment in that respect to help us to make the best decision as it relates to the best vaccine for us here.
Officer in charge of the Drug Enforcement Unit, Chief Superintendent Roberto Goodman, warning merchants and visitors that marijuana-infused edibles are illegal, despite them being legal in some jurisdictions.
For offenders and also for persons, even on some of our visitors, we found, like I said, statistics have shown where even some of our visitors, where we find that countries who have these items decriminalized or legalized and they import it into the country. But when you come here and once you reach the Bahamas, which is our jurisdiction, it is illegal.
Goodman also warned that CBD products, which don't have intoxicating elements, are also illegal.
Any vendor, any person who found guilty, any person who found going contrary to this, like I said, we'll arrest them and place them before the court. Any store or any convenience store thing that they could use CBD or have the THC oil on there, shells, we're coming at you also, because it is an offense under the Bahamian law.
So to come on our news, Disney says it's content with its environmental impact assessment, and frustrated furloughed hotel workers say, well, they air their concerns. That's coming up when our news returns. So to come on our news, Disney says it's content with its environmental impact assessment, and furloughed hotel workers express their frustrations.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
Officials from Disney Cruise Lines anticipate the recently released environmental impact assessment will address environmental concerns at Lighthouse Point. Bertha McDermott has that.
Disney Vice President of Public Affairs Kim Prunty says Disney continued to tweak its plans for Lighthouse Point and is now satisfied the many environmental concerns are now addressed. Environmentalists didn't hold back, objecting to the development, taking their concerns to lobbyists in the United States. However, Prunty says the EIA is likely the most extensive in Bahamian history.
When we first started talking with the community 3 years ago, we received a letter from the Member of Parliament from Central and South Eleuthera, and it was a letter, and it had, 18 plus questions saying, what are Disney's plans? And I will tell you that the majority of those questions had to do with the environment. The other really important question to the locals was having meaningful access to the site for citizens and residents of the Bahamas, which we believe we have done.
Vice President of Animal Science and Environment, Dr. Mark Penning, says any coral that may be disturbed by the construction of the pier or its existence will be relocated.
We are able to position the pier, we'll talk more about the pier, in such a way that we're at least 500 feet from any coral reefs. We know how to move corals. Coral species, hard coral species, do very well with relocation when they are 10 centimeters in size or bigger. We've proven this repeatedly in that we have a coral nursery and a rehabilitation program in Abaco.
9 historical ruins and several ancillary features were identified, according to Prunty, who says there is no anticipated impact to these structures. Furthermore, Prunty says Disney was in talks with environmental groups and has responded to many queries.
We heard loud and clear from a variety of stakeholders that we needed to reduce the scope of the pier as much as we could. And so as a result, we have narrowed the pier, which has allowed us to reduce the impact by about 25%. We eliminated the back of house facilities in the northwest corner due to sensitive habitats and historical ruins. I showed you where they are on the east side.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bertha McDermott.
A peaceful band of furloughed workers gathered in Rawson Square this week, holding signs reading, "Pay the people," and "Our government does not care about hotel workers." Mother of 2, Reba Bridgewater, making an impassioned plea for Atlantis to make her redundant. After being without a job for a year, she's finding it hard to provide for her children, including a daughter with special needs.
I have 2 kids to take for, my youngest, special needs, and so it's tough. I've reached out to Atlantis. I was told that the company's not moving in that direction of paying packages, and I feel like I'm being held hostage. I shouldn't be feel to resign with nothing, as opposed to being made redundant, where they would have to pay me the 12 years that I am owed. I just want answers as to why I cannot get my package after reaching out so many times.
Bridgewater says she tried a food delivery business but could not make enough money to stay afloat and pay her bills. Dave Beckford was laid off from Atlantis last year. He tells Our News now that he's been let go, he faces a new challenge, as the National Insurance Board will no longer pay him unemployment benefits. Beckford says he was informed that those benefits were paid out during his furlough time.
I was let go from Atlantis December 11. I put 26 years there. I've made my contributions to national insurance. I've yet to receive $1. And every time you go there 3 times, they're telling you about the time when you were furloughed, unemployment benefit you were receiving. I want my unemployment benefit now, as I no longer work there lattice. I want NIB to pay me my money.
When our news comes back from the break, the Grand Bahama Children's Home gets a much-needed upgrade. Stay with us.
Happy Foods, Happy Foods, 242, 242, Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. This ain't no talking show, it's an eating show. Sasha Laurel is the host of Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Foods, 242, food galore.
The Grand Bahama Children's Home getting much-needed upgrades from donors to improve the quality of life for its 30-plus residents. Grand Bahama Children's Home Executive Director Sarah Kirby says the home is focused on helping children who may not be getting what they need at home.
We want them, when they come to our home, to feel like they're in any home they would want to be. We want them to be nurtured. We want them to feel loved. We want them to have the things they need. And just like in a home where you have to clean your room, you have a discipline. If you do something wrong, we need them to have that.
The home, a 40-year-old public-private partnership with the government, currently has 34 residents with a capacity to house up to 50 children. The home sustained severe damage during Hurricane Dorian, leaving the children and staff with mental scars. But Kirby says with the help of organizations such as SBP Bahamas, the home was able to rebuild and provide support for its staff and residents.
We know that we have to care for the children, and most of the children that come here have been taken away from their families because of abuse, neglect, and other items. We are absolutely thrilled that we now have a full-time therapist on staff to help them cope, but also the people that are looking after them day by day also have to learn how to cope with their needs, mentally, physically.
So we knew that these kids had been through a lot of trauma prior to Dorian. Compounded with Dorian, we wanted to make sure that, their staff psychiatrist and mental health needs were being met so that they can, get the assistance and the help that they need, the guidance to lead productive lives as they age out of the home.
Through STB and Albany Bahamas, the home now has a new laundry building, vehicle and generators to provide power to all major buildings and cold storage in the event of a power outage or emergency. Coming up in sports, the Carifta Games being held in August, but will the Bahamas send a team? Marcellus Hall has answers for us when we come back.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits, venture into unknown territory, take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV, cable channel 212, and streaming live on Facebook.
With the annual Carifta Championships now set for the month of August, the question remains as to whether or not the Bahamas sends a team to compete. Marcellus Hall has some answers for us.
With plans still moving forward to host the Carifta Championships in Bermuda this August, local organizing committees continue their preparations to meet all the safety protocols in order to ensure that the championships come off as smoothly as possible. NACAC President Mike Sands saying that while he could not speak definitively of the Bahamas' participation, he had no reason to think the country would not attend.
Well, I'm not in a position to speak on behalf of the beach race other than to say the beach race as a member of the NACAC family is getting the same information as all of the member federations are getting at the very same time. And so at the end of the day, however, I have no doubt that the beach race, like our other members, will make the necessary adjustments to be a participant of these games, which is our perennial event of our area. So I would not want to preempt or speak on their behalf and speak out of school. But I have every confidence in knowing that they will do what is necessary, as all of us have to do under these circumstances.
The first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine are in arms, marking the start of the country's vaccination rollout. It's what some consider a beacon of hope as the beginning of the end of the pandemic is in sight.
It's a beacon of hope because we're seeing what's happening around the world in countries that are able to roll out the vaccine quickly. It means that they are better positioned to get to a state of normalcy.
But what COVID has forced us to do is to relook what's important. What's important to us personally, what's important to us in terms of our national direction, prioritizing things, resetting a little our values. You know, I think it's opportune, and also to look at our purpose in life perhaps a little more closely.
In the Hour News Special, The Breakdown, we examine how the vaccine is expected to be a tool in the Bahamas' journey back to normalcy after the COVID-19 pandemic. The Breakdown airs Monday, March 15th at 8 p.m. right here on Our TV. Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. To catch our news on the go, download the Rev Go Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.